Hi guys, welcome back to YouTube channel Chemistry Live UGPG. So today we will talk what are the questions that came in second semester for chemistry honor students for paper CC-3, CC-4 and generic students for the year 2022. So I have a simple message for you. Please think for innovation, be creative, learn everywhere, anytime and help to learn others. So now we'll start for paper CC-3 for chemistry honor students. The questions that came for UG second semester. So this is the question that came in the year 2022 for paper CC-3. So it carries full mark 60 and it has 4 parts. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 and Part 4. For Part 1, each question carries 1 mark each. Let's start with Part 1. The nitro group exhibits which inductive effect? Next question. Addition of HBr to this alkene compound is an example of which type of addition reaction? Then the dipole moment of trans 2,3-dichloro-2-butene is what? Then you need to assign the E or Z notation to this compound. The next question. For among these compounds, which one is aromatic? Then nitro group in aniline is dash directing in nature for the second incoming electrophile. The next question, which is less stable between this compound and this alkene compound? One is less substituted and another one is highly substituted. And from among these three alkynes, which cannot be alkylated? So you need to find out. Then we will move to part 2. Here part 2 carries 1.5 mark each question. So first question, which is more acidic between benzoic acid and C2H5COH and why? Which is more basic between aniline and ethylamine and why? What is resonance effect? Give one example of groups showing positive and negative resonance effect. How can you get ethylene from ethanol? Give your equation. What is Wurtz fitting reaction? Give an example with equation. What is chiral carbon? Give 2 examples of compound possessing chiral carbon. Explain syn and anti-isomerism of benzaldehyde oxime. Next question, explain ozonolysis reaction of propene. Explain why methyl group in toluene is ortho and or para-directing in nature. Then draw the chair, boat and twist boat conformation for cyclohexane. Then we'll move to part 3. Here each question carries 2 marks each and you need to answer 8 questions. What are homolytic and heterolytic fissions? Give example for each. Define nucleophile and electrophile. Give examples for each. Distinguish between sigma and pi, sigma pi and sigma p type of hyperconjugation, giving one example for each. How can C3H8 be prepared by Wurtz reaction? The next you need to assign R and S notation for these 2 compounds. Next question, explain optical isomerism of lactic acid. Explain Diels-Alder reaction, giving at least one example. What happens when acetylene is allowed to react with ammoniacal silver nitrate solution? Give the mechanism of nitration in benzene. So explain why pyrrole shows aromatic character. Now we will move to part 4. Here each question carries 6 marks each. Give the reasons for stability of the following carbocations. The next is Wurtz reaction and chlorination of methane. So you need to write down the short note. Then write notes on geometrical isomerism of maleic and fumaric acid. Next question, optical isomerism of tartaric acid. So explain the following. Resolution of racemic mixture by chemical method. Assign D or L notation to chiral compounds. Explain how alkenes can be obtained by E1 and E2 reactions giving mechanisms. So you need to write the mechanisms here. Explain the following: Bayer strength theory, oxymercuration and demercuration of alkene. Give mechanism of Friedel-Crafts alkylation reaction and acylation of benzene. Explain aromaticity and Hockel's rule and give the reagents for aromatic character of cyclopentadienyl anion. So this is all about CC-3 paper for second semester honors students. Next we will move to CC-4 paper for chemistry honors students for UG second semester for the year 2022. So this is the paper CC-4 where the full mark is 60 and this question carries 4 parts. Part 1, each question carries 1 mark each. So when no heat can flow from the system to surrounding or vice versa, the process is termed as which process? Work done by the system is considered to be negative or positive. If delta S system plus delta S surrounding is greater than 0, whether this process is irreversible or spontaneous. Which law of thermodynamics states that the entropy of all perfectly crystalline solids may be taken as 0 at the absolute 0 temperature? Partial molar free energy is otherwise called what? When equilibrium constant is expressed in terms of mole fractions of reactants and products, it is denoted as what? Molar depression constant is called what? Out of 1 molar and 1 molar solution in water, which one is more concentrated? You need to answer. Now we will move to part 2. Here in part 2, each question carries 1.5 mark and you need to answer 8 questions. Define open, closed and isolated systems. Define isobaric, isochoric and isothermal processes. What is zeroth law of thermodynamics? Define enthalpy of combustion. Give an example. Define heat engine, source and sink. What is interpreted from the following? So this equation, by looking at the equation, you have to interpret what is the physical significance. Between Kp and Kc, which one is higher? And what is the relationship between Kp and Kc? You need to write down. What is the criteria of thermodynamic equilibrium? State Henry's law. Mention 2 applications of this law. Explain why equimolar solutions of NaCl and this one does not have the same osmotic pressure. You need to explain. So now we will move to part 3. And here each question carries 2 marks each. What are the limitations of thermodynamics? Then distinguish between thermodynamically reversible and irreversible processes. Define and give examples of extensive and intensive properties. What are the values of pressure, temperature at standard state? Define standard enthalpy of formation. State second law of thermodynamics in 2 different forms. What is efficiency of heat engine? How can it be increased? Explain what is fugacity. Distinguish between Gibbs free energy and Helmholtz free energy. What is the effect of addition of inert gas on equilibrium at constant volume and constant pressure? What are colligative properties? Give examples of such properties. Then we will move to part 4 where each question carries 6 marks. Define heat capacity of a system and derive the relationship between Cp and Cv for 1 mole of ideal gas. And show that delta H equal to delta U plus P delta V. Next question, explain Kirchhoff's equation showing variation of enthalpy of a reaction with temperature. Then calculate the enthalpy change for the reaction H2 plus Br2 equal to 2Br if the bond energies of HH, Br and HBr are 435 kJ per mole, 192 kJ per mole and 364 kJ per mole respectively. Next question, derive Gibbs Helmholtz equation. So you need to derive this equation. Then derive the relationship W by Q2 equal to T2 minus T1 by T2 by using Carnot cycle. Next question, you need to write notes on Gibbs-Duhem equation. Entropy change in mixing of ideal gases. So derive the relationship between the equilibrium constant Kp and Kc. State and explain Le Chatelier's principle. State and explain Raoult's law. If vapor pressure of water is at 293 Kelvin is 17.53 mm and lowering of vapor pressure of sugar solution is 0.063 mm, then calculate the relative lowering of vapor pressure and vapor pressure of the solution. Why there is a depression in freezing point when a non-volatile solute is dissolved in solvent? Derive the relationship between depression of freezing point and molecular mass of non-volatile solute thermodynamically. So this is all about paper CC-4 for chemistry honors students. Now we will move to GE2 paper for chemistry students, generic students for UG second semester 2022. So this generic paper GE2 carries full mark 60 and this question has also 4 parts. Part 1 contains 1 mark each. So what are the questions that came? When pressure of a system remains constant, it is called which process? What is the relationship between ionic product of water and temperature? For endothermic reactions, the change in enthalpy is assigned with which sign? The solubility product value should be less than or more than the ionic product value for occurrence of precipitation. Which is the major product when vapors of phenol react with heated zinc? The major product formed by dehydrochlorination of a 2-chloropropane with alcoholic potash is what? You need to write the answer. Identify the compound B for this reaction. The solution of anhydrous zinc chloride and concentrated HCl is called which reagent? Then we will move to part 2. The part 2 carries 1.5 mark each and you need to answer 8 questions. First question, define isothermal, adiabatic and isochoric processes. Give statements of third law of thermodynamics. State Le Chatelier's principle. What are strong, moderate and weak electrolytes? Define pH. What is the relationship between pH, pOH and pKw? Give one example each for normal SH acid and basic SH. What is Sandmeyer's reaction? What is Williamson's ether synthesis? How can you get aldehydes from nitriles? And what happens when the ester is reduced with lithium aluminum hydride? Give your equation. So now we will move to part 3 where each question carries 2 marks and you need to answer 8 questions. Define extensive and intensive properties and give examples for each. Define and give one example each for open and closed system so that delta H equal to delta U plus P delta V. Define integral and differential enthalpies of solution. Find the expression for solubility of compound Ag3ASO4 if its solubility is given as X moles per liter. Give one example each for an acidic buffer and a basic buffer mixture. What is Gattermann reaction? What happens when this Grignard reagent is allowed to react with a ketone and then hydrolyzed? Identify A, B, C, D in the following reaction. So in this reaction you need to identify what are the products for A, B, C and D. And what is the iodoform test for acetone? Now we move to part 4. So here each question carries 6 marks each. Derive the relationship between Kp and Kc, Kp and Kx and Kc and Kx. Next question. State and explain Hess law for constant heat of summation. For a substance to be on its standard state, what are the values of temperature and pressure? Explain how common ion effect and solubility product principle are applied in qualitative analysis of metal ions. Next question, pH scale. You have to write a note. Then factors affecting degree of ionization. Next question, buffer capacity. Give mechanisms of SN1 and SN2 reactions of alkyl halides. Give a comparison of 2 mechanisms. Give mechanism for this reaction where benzene reacts with concentrated sulfuric acid, giving rise to sulfonic acid, benzene sulfonic acid. and then you need to write down the mechanism when chlorobenzene react with sodium in liquid ammonia, giving rise to aniline. Give mechanisms for the following: benzoin condensation and Carnigerous reaction. Give mechanisms for Reimer-Tiemann reaction and pinacolone rearrangement. So this is all about the GE paper for chemistry second semester students. I will be happy if you guys subscribe to our channel Chemistry Live UG and PG. So I hope you will be benefited by looking at the previous year questions and you will prepare accordingly for your semester examination. So this is a simple step towards e-learning, making life better. Thank you all for learning.